Let's get some more analysis now on the Israel-Iran conflict. I'm joined now by Kylie Moore-Gilbert, an Australian academic, author and former political prisoner in Iran. Kylie, thanks so much for your time. I wonder, can you give us a sense of how you think the Iranian people would be feeling now to look at some of these top figures in the, let's be frank, the hated regime being knocked off?
Hi, Kieran. Thanks for having me on. I've been in touch with quite a few people inside Iran over the past 2 or 3 days, including former cellmates of mine who are now out of prison and living in cities like Tehran. I can say there's a real sense of fear and trepidation on the streets. There are no bomb shelters in Iran. The regime has not looked after its own people in the slightest. It's just looking after itself and its cronies. People are terrified. Some of the friends I know have had windows blown out in their apartments because they've been so close to military strikes. So there's a real fear and a real trepidation, but at the same time, there's also a sort of spirit of hope and of even celebration that some of these truly evil top IRGC and other regime officials have been assassinated, including the head of the IRGC's intelligence branch, which was the organisation that wrongfully detained, arrested, tortured, kidnapped me for more than 2 years of my life, including obviously many, many thousands of innocent Iranians as well. So on a personal level, I'm happy to see him gone, but definitely on the streets in Iran today, there's a real sense of fear and trepidation.
Yeah, it's an interesting set of mixed emotions, isn't it, for the Iranian population? It's so hard to get a sense more broadly of what the view is towards the regime. There's no polling, but you've spent a lot of time there and you know, and you've got friends, as you say, in Iran. Can you give us a read on what the view is towards the regime and the supreme leader? We know the secular past in Iran under the Shah, but what's the current mood as far as you can tell?
It is a mixed bag, but I've seen social media clips coming out of Iran of people chanting Marg ba Khamenei, death to Khamenei, the supreme leader, from the rooftops, at the same time as these strikes are happening. Some people are calling on Israel to drop a bomb on him, on the supreme leader. So you've seen a whole gamut of responses, everything from that at one end to people just calling and pleading for the war to stop no matter what, and saying that no loss of civilian life is justifiable, even if it means bringing down these evil, henchmen of the regime at the same time. There's a real sense of panic and confusion as well, because the Iranian regime has cut the internet, so they're preventing information from spreading. Normally for people in the diaspora, that's a key link via WhatsApp or Telegram or Signal to their loved ones back in Iran, but also within Iran, that's how they get information out and between each themselves. So cutting the internet has sort of unleashed a sense of panic and confusion within the country as well, and made it much more difficult to get information in and out. So I think the longer this goes on, the more that panic is going to rise, and there's a real danger for Israel here. Broadly, I think they have a large segment of the Iranian population on side, sort of quote unquote, providing they don't kill too many civilians. But the longer this goes on and the more fear that's generated and the more innocent casualties that do happen in the crossfire, the more likely some of these people may rally behind the regime. So I think it's a real difficult game that's being played right now. But the population more broadly blames the Islamic Republic and their own leaders for bringing this down on their heads.
And Kylie, I know that you were reflecting earlier on social media about the fate of those wrongfully imprisoned right now, the political prisoners, the thousands of them, and the fear that they must be feeling right now as that is a besieged country.
I cannot even imagine how it must feel to be locked inside a tiny cell, maybe even on your own in solitary confinement, to hear bombs falling around you. And don't forget that Evin Prison is in the northern suburbs of Tehran, close to a lot of these strikes that have been happening on IRGC commanders and other military facilities. They would be able to hear that from their cells. They would hear wild rumours circulating, maybe from the prison guards, maybe from other prisoners. Nobody's going to have a clue what's going on. And it's utterly terrifying to think that you're locked in a place. You can't flee, you can't hide, you can't take action to protect yourself, and you don't have access to information. on top of that, are the prison guards even looking after these people, or are they kind of, have they run away? Are they doing other things? Are they preoccupied with other things? It's truly shocking. There are literally thousands, dozens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of innocent people in prison in Iran, most of them Iranian civilians. The prison population inside that country is enormous. The conditions are dire in the best of days. Do they even have electricity? Do they have running water? What on earth is going on? My heart goes out to them.
Yeah, indeed. And we hope that this does lead to some sort of improvement in their plight. But for Iran generally, with that horrific regime that they've had to endure for so long. But what do you think the end game is for Israel as an observer of the region? What do you think Israel wants? Is it basically just to wipe out the nuclear capacity, or is it also regime change?
I think their stated goal early on was to wipe out the nuclear program, if wiping it out entirely is even possible, certainly to set it back by a number of years. But very swiftly, given the success that they had in those first 2 days, and the fact that they basically have complete freedom of operation in the skies above Iran, it seems to me that they are progressing in the direction of regime change. My primary concern is that, just like in Gaza, the Israelis do not seem to have an after plan in mind. What do they do next, even if they achieve regime change? How do you prevent an even worse regime from taking power in Iran? How do you prevent, for example, a kind of an internal coup that might be conducted by IRGC or military elites who might remove the clerical establishment from power, for example, and rule the country still in accordance with their fundamentalist hardline cult of martyrdom that they've cultivated there in Iran, but be even less compromising and less rational than the Ayatollah is currently. So there are plenty of scenarios in which something worse could emerge than what we currently have now, and I think the lack of an end game is really concerning.
That is so hard to imagine, but as you rightly point out, we've seen it before, haven't we? Kylie Moore-Gilbert, thank you for your insights and your time. We appreciate it at a very uncertain time in that region.
Thank you.